We're now going to cover the final part of the services requisitioning and reporting process. So this is our service delivery acknowledgement process. And this is done through not a goods receipt, but what we call a service entry. And a service entry is slightly different from a goods receipt in that it's much more flexible in the way that you can report your effort. Service entry is used in a number of ways. It can be used in reporting timesheets from contingent labor. It can be used for reporting milestones on SOW contracts. It can be used for, in the oil industry, is what we call field tickets, where when work is being performed on a daily basis, on a time and material basis, it can be used in the field to be able to record the work and then have the resident engineer on the site acknowledge the work performed by the supplier. So the thing we're going to show you today is a service entry module, and we're going to show the entry of service entry for labor, progress reporting, etc. Remember, we created different types of service orders in the previous demo. What we're going to do is show how you do reporting against those, and then we're going to show very quickly service entry approval. The supplier goes on to the portal, and they can see their orders that have come out of the system. You can see things that are a little bit familiar to you, like our cloud engineer, our SOW, etc. So we're going to go through each of these and sort of show you how to report time. So here I'm going to report efforts against my cloud services engineer. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click that button there, and it brings in the rate sheet with the rates. And so I can go and say, I'm reporting the first week of work, and here's the period of service. It's from the 14th through the 19th, okay? And it's by John Smith, and it's in San Francisco. Okay, and so I'm going to save that service entry. I'm going to assign it a number. I can come back and later on I could add to this and modify it. But once I've created my service entry, I'm going to release it. And what that does is it then kicks that service entry over for the internal approval by the resident engineer or the requisitioner. So let's look at another use case here. This is where we want to report efforts against my statement of work. So here's my $30,000 statement of work, and I'm going to achieve milestone 1, which is I'm going to put in at 30%, and I'm going to put a date there because it's my initial mobilization, and this is milestone number 1, initial payment. Okay, and so here I'm going to put my service entry number in again, and it's going to be, and I'm going to save it, and I'm going to submit it. So in this case here, I was able to do a percentage milestone award in here. The third type we had was the service order where we were going in there and doing a equipment inspection. And so here, I'm going to go in here and report efforts. And you see it's a $50,000 fixed price item. So what I'm going to do now is add an item. And what this one was all about is that I released a limit order that said, go out and take the items from, it's a 50,000. We have an agreed rate sheet. When you report it, report based on your rate sheet. So what I'm doing here is I'm selecting items that are in my rate sheet. So I'm going to book in, there's 40 hours of on this date here, the 15th. and it's John Smith again. And I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go and add another one, and I'm going to go and look for a different item on my rate sheet. And here, I'm bringing back this tooling item. It's 5 days at a certain rate, the period of service. The point that I'm trying to make here is tools and save. What I'm doing here is I have a fixed price statement of work, but I'm doing time and material reporting against this rate sheet. And I build up this daily service entry sheet, and I'm going to give it a SE number. And I'm going to go ahead and release this item. So here, I've actually gone ahead and I'm creating a reporting that's based on my rate sheet for a release limit order. So I'm going to release that item there. And then the final one we're going to look at was the service orders, the more complicated one that we had here when we ordered this complex offshore item. And typically what's going to happen here is we're going to report against the specific item. So here I'm going to confirm that that one's there, and I'm going to put a date on it. And so you can see I can go ahead and I can put descriptions and additional detail on that. And I'm going to do this one as well. Now, let me actually do this one here. And I'm going to put 10 on there, and that's good enough. And I'm going to delete that one. And so I'm going to save it. So I've reported against 2 of the line items that are on the service entry. Again, I have to give it a service entry sheet number. And I can, as you see, attach document and all sorts of things like that. So I've reported progress against 2 items, and I'm going to release those for this thing. Now I'm going to go back as my resident engineer, or we can call it here. I'm going to select Acme. So I'm going to act as the requisitioner now and approve those service entries that have been created. So I go in as customer, I change to the procurement application. And what I see now is I have service entries to approve. And so within here, you can see the different service entries that I have. And so I can look at, for instance, this one here. And I can see here are the items that were submitted for that complex order. And I can go ahead and either reject or confirm it, assign it to another approver, etc. So in this case, I'm confirming it. And then I'm going to look at my next service entry that I need to approve. And hopefully this one here is, for instance, my percentage of my milestone on my statement of work, and I can accept that, etc. So in summary, what you've seen is that we've gone through a series of demos that talk about the creation of service requests, and there is different types of service requests: labor, contingent labor, SOW work, unit rate work, complex things. And then we've gone and seen how we go create and issue them. Then we've just looked at, under this item, we've looked at our service entry sheets as a mechanism by which to report progress, where the supplier can go in and either look at items on their service order, or look at items, against a fixed price item. They can look at items in their rate sheet. They've got a number of mechanisms by which they can report their service delivery. And then once they have submitted them, they go back to the requisitioner or the responsible person, and they can approve those items, and then they can generate documents that can be part of the invoice process. The concept is that service work should be approved between the supplier and the requisitioner at the time of the performance of the work, and that then approves the downstream invoice reconciliation process. Thank you.